My day job's at NVIDIA, but I'm here speaking today primarily with my Khronos hat on. I'm the president of the Khronos Group. So I thought I'd start, who am I? I'm going to share my journey through standards. So I first got hooked on standards back in the early 90s with OpenGL. I was working for a company called 3D Labs, and we were partly responsible for putting SGI out of business, because we brought OpenGL onto the PC. But it was an introduction into the power of standards and how it could transform an industry and help people work together for the good of everyone. And then had the chance to initiate OpenGL ES, which was for one brief moment, the one API that has been available everywhere on every platform. That didn't last too long. But then we worked on bringing 3D to the web with WebGL, and that led to glTF. And now we have the new generation Vulkan. And now we're getting into immersive with OpenXR. And all of these standards, we're really fortunate that they've become quite widely adopted throughout the industry. And that is a gift to the community that is building standards. It's not trivial to get all the stars to align to get a standard to be widely adopted. In fact, there are other standards that I've been involved with. I can tell you the story about any of them if the cost is one beer, and I will tell you the inside story on any one of these logos. Deal. Wait, you meant to negotiate me down. There are standards here that they're not quite so widely adopted. Some of them are facing platform issues. Some of them actually made some missteps that we'll go through in this presentation. Some of them, like Inari, are awesome and just starting their journey. But there are others too that really died a bit. And there's a number of reasons why. And again, we'll go through. So there's hopefully some learning that we can extract into 15 minutes worth of discussion here. Once it's worth starting, what is the interoperability standard? It is surprising to me how folks that are quite involved in the industry still don't understand the difference between open source and open standards. Inside NVIDIA, it's very common to say, oh, Khronos, you do the open source stuff. I go, no, no, well, we do open source, but our primary product at NVIDIA, at Khronos, is open standards. An open standard is a shared specification that defines how two parts of the industry are going to communicate. It can be software according to hardware, it can be network protocols, or it can be common asset formats like glTF. And the whole power, the superpower of open standards, of course, is that it enables multiple implementations that are consistent with each other. And different implementations can reach different markets, different price points, different use cases. It's what enables the technology to be well-defined and pervasively distributed and made available throughout the industry. Open source, of course, is an exact opposite, and totally awesome too. Multiple contributors contributing to a single implementation, but can have lots of advantages. It's the easiest way to get consistency between multiple vendors if they're all using exactly the same implementation. So open standards almost always use open source to build their ecosystem in terms of tools, samples, and implementations. You need to know which tool is best for the job. And open standards are not always the best tool. Increasingly for languages, for example, shading languages, kernel languages, and just languages in general. Open standards is not necessarily the right way to do it. Most are going to open source, but so there's a good synergistic relationship between the two, but they are very different. We often say open standards. Well, what does open mean? I think open has many dimensions. It can mean it's open to anyone who wants to participate in their creation. It can mean no restrictions on who can implement and adopt them. It means, I think importantly, that there's genuine multi-company governance. No one company in control or controlling the longevity of an endeavor is critical to build industry confidence, so people can base their whole business model, in some cases, on open standards. You need to know that you're not at the mercy of any one other company who might lose interest or wander off or decide to do something else. It's critical that longevity is not dependent on any one company. And free means no charge to access the spec, though that doesn't always happen. Definitely no charge to users of the specification. And for implementers, no per device or per instantiation royalty is typically conducive to wider adoption. And another interesting conversation I have is that people creating these standards, often people regard those creators holding patents as being a bad thing, when in fact it's a good thing. If you have the right design of IP framework, all the companies that are creating an open standard and making it available to the industry are granting licenses to their patents. And so under the right IP framework, more patents being held by the creators of those standards is more protection for the folks that are implementing and using those standards in the industry. So patents are good, not bad, they're standards. Another big ongoing discussion is, while you're in the open standards, you must hate proprietary technology. And in fact, the opposite is true. I think that you need both. The open standards will be lost without proprietary products and technologies breaking new ground, being at the bleeding edge, innovating on new techniques and technologies on how to solve industry problems. But everyone's doing it in a different way, and it's driving everyone nuts. That's the time to strike and create a standard. Get those contributions from the folks that are on the bleeding edge, get them to contribute to an open standard under multi-company governance. That can make that technology pervasively available to the benefit of everyone, including the companies and universities that help create that technology. And then it's an upward spiral, because once companies start leveraging open standards, they don't have to do everything themselves. They can begin the network leveraging through standards into the work of others, standing on the shoulders of other companies, which in turn lets them focus their own resources on the next round of differentiation and innovation, and the circle goes around and around. So I only have a few minutes, so I tried to distill 4 lessons, the 4 most important lessons. Actually, these slides are baked fresh this morning, so yeah, I'm learning these too. So, and I should say, I'm not the deep technical guy. I used to be an engineer, but that was many, many years ago. I took the red pill many years ago. I work at the ecosystem level, but Patrick and everyone is going to be talking way more detail about the details of glTF. But at the ecosystem level, it's kind of what I was just saying. The number 1 lesson is timing is everything. And there's a large amount of luck to this too. Some of those standards that didn't take off were perfectly good technology. They were either too early, and they were still trying to R&D it, and we didn't really know what it was we were standardizing. That's a recipe for disaster. Or it was too late, and either a competing standard or some proprietary text come to de facto. So if you can get the timing right, it's really the number 1 ingredient for success. And that really speaks to those of us that are active in the standardization community. We shouldn't try to standardize too fast, but we should be very conscious of pre-standardization activities, scanning the radar, scanning the horizon, talking to practitioners, like we just heard Jonathan talking. It's awesome talk. so many things that aren't solved, but I hope are soon to be solved. And then when they become solved, standardize will grab that consensus and move the industry forward. And glTF PBR is, I think, a prime exemplar of that good practice. I mean, there are many other things in glTF too, and many other standards, but PBR, I think, it is a good example. We were fortunate, we were able to bring really all of the key practitioners in the PBR space and focusing on the glTF perspective on PBR, which is how we're going to deliver it out there into many different engines and browsers. We didn't invent anything. We were just consolidating and meticulously specifying the PBR equations that everyone can consistently implement. And the timing was right, and the approach was right. And you can see there's a pipeline of technologies that are becoming well proven and well understood and pervasive enough that the standardization window happens. And this is an ongoing process. My lesson number 2 is test and test and test, because what isn't being tested is definitely not working. And it goes deeper than if you're building a product and you want a bug-free end user experience. If you get bugs and inconsistencies in a standard that's shipping pervasively throughout the industry, and if you let dialects, therefore, of your standard exists without being whack-a-mole down, your industry trust and your community trust will evaporate in around 10 nanoseconds because people will quickly conclude that the standard doesn't work, it's not solving their problem, it's all inconsistent, and they'll go and search for a different solution. And this was the mistake that Collada made. Collada, and this, if you talk to the folks who were doing Collada, they were the first. They were the ones that educated glTF. This is the mistake we made. Don't make this mistake. They had different dialects building up because different tools were importing and exporting Collada differently. They didn't have enough test infrastructure in place, and chaos ensued. And that's what killed Collada, basically. So glTF, I think we're doing much better. We have a big bump of functionality coming. We're going to need to do a lot more. But we do have the sample viewer and a validator, which is great for testing out new functionality and for content developers to check that their assets are correct. We have the asset library. The asset library is a central thing on testing for glTF. It's like the equivalent of the conformance test suite for an API like Vulkan. Now, Vulkan test suite has, I think, now over 3 million tests, and it's only partial coverage. Now, CTS is a job of the life you'll never finish. The asset library has a few hundred assets, so we have a little way to go. We need to have an asset generator that hopefully can offload some of the manual work on creating unit test type assets. But this is where we really have to focus. And then the render showcase, and a big shout out, of course, to Emmett, and all the work that Emmett's been doing, and letting Khronos use and support the render fidelity website to have comparative, publicly available comparisons of what all the different engines are doing. I think is going to be the other vital part on both giving early warning of incompatibilities so we can, as a community, react to do the right thing and cajole and socialize and persuade folks to do things the right way. But also as an incentive to implement all the functionalities. Because if your engine is up there on a public website and you don't have all the stuff that your next door neighbor has, then that's hopefully a positive encouragement for folks who wish to have full functionality to keep up with the Joneses. Lesson number 3 was embrace Darwinism. The market knows best. And this works at multiple levels. If a standard isn't being adopted, probably it's a good sign you should go and spend your cycles somewhere else. If your standards organization isn't getting any traction, probably a good sign, go and spend your cycles somewhere else. It also works down at the inside an API. I think many successful standards are built to be extensible by the community. So the community can do the experimentation as well as the standards group itself, and then see what gets adopted. That is, the market is wiser in such things, I think, than any one person can be. And getting strong industry adoption is essential if you're going to sustain momentum and ongoing investment. If you're not getting adoption, the end is nigh. It's just a matter of time. And I'll go into the details on the bottom, but that's the extension pipeline for glTF. Anyone can create a glTF extension. You don't need permission from anyone. And many of the extensions that are making their way through into the spec that have come from the community. And that is the way it should be, all the way through to international standards at ISO. The last lesson that I came up with this morning, which I really do believe in, is don't be in a bubble. Standardization at its very core is a cooperative endeavor. So don't get in your bubble and just cooperate within your bubble. Reach out to other bubbles, because they can help you, and you can probably and hopefully help them too. And we have some great examples around the glTF ecosystem with USD and ASWF and MaterialX, many of which we've already mentioned here. So the Metaverse Standards Forum is exactly that. It's not another standards organization. It's a place where all the standards organizations can come and talk. I'm sure Patrick will talk more about it. We have the working group with glTF USD interoperability. It's created a cross-bubble community that has real value, and it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't made the effort to get out there out of our own bubbles. So I encourage people to do it. So that's, I'm out of time, but I want to say thank you to a lot of folks here in the room. These standards, they're deeply impactful, so it's been awesome to have the chance to be a part of it. They take passion and tech smarts and integrity and tenacity, because there's always issues and barriers to get things out. These standards don't make themselves. They're all created by normal human beings, well, relatively normal. And actually, standards, they attract an interesting kind of person, with empathy and see this thing in the bigger picture. So it really has been an honor and continues to be an honor to work with many of you here on this journey to standardization. Thank you.